Another very common investment of the third frontier. I mentioned earlier, for example, the Rolls-Royce partnership at Stark State, which is the community college in Canton. And with the support of the third frontier, we actually built a research and development facility right on the campus of that community college, where Rolls-Royce is moving its development work from around the globe. And the students at that community college are learning the trade as Rolls-Royce is developing the new skills. So they will, by definition, be on the cutting edge of manufacturing techniques, and not only be marketable, obviously, to Rolls-Royce, but to other companies that are looking for skilled manufacturers. You know, it's one of the things that both Baiju and Rebecca made this point very well, but we've always prided ourselves on the high-skilled workforce that can fill the jobs in the manufacturing industries across Ohio. But the truth is, that we all understand, what represents high-skilled is changing all the time. The technology of manufacturing is changing all the time, and so we have to be constantly upgrading, not only creating the new inventions that are happening in the laboratories, but also making sure that our workers are learning the new skills so that they can fill those jobs, and as the new inventions come off the line, the jobs are created in Ohio.
Thank you, Vickie and panel. Today at the City Club of Cleveland, we are listening to a special program with a panel discussion featuring Rebecca Bagley, CEO of Nortech, the Honorable Eric Fingerhut, Chancellor of the Ohio Board of Regents, Baiju Shah, CEO of Bioenterprise, and moderated by Vickie Eaton Johnson, Executive Director of Fairfax Renaissance Development Corporation. That's Fairfax. I got the message there. We will return to our speakers in a few moments for our traditional City Club questions. We encourage you to formulate your questions now and remind you that your questions should be brief and to the point. We welcome you to this City Club forum. Our greetings go to those present in this room, especially those who are guests. We hope you will join the City Club and become active in our ongoing civic dialogue. There has been some discussion about the significance of K-12 education and all of this. Well, tomorrow, Thursday, April 22nd, the City Club welcomes Deborah Delisle, Superintendent of Public Education for the state of Ohio. And Friday, April 23rd, the City Club will welcome Jim Rokakis, Cuyahoga County Treasurer, who will discuss land banking, helping blighted neighborhoods prosper. For more information about our forums, please refer to the back of your printed program. If you wish to make a reservation or order a CD or DVD of today's program, please call 1-888-223-6786 or 216-621-0082. We're pleased to welcome guests at tables hosted by Bioenterprise, Case Western Reserve University, the Greater Cleveland Partnership, and Nortech. Thank you for joining us today. Now we would like to return to our moderator and speakers for our traditional City Club question and answer period. We welcome questions from everyone, including guests. Holding the microphone today is Carrie Miller and our PR and Programs Manager. First question, please.
Well, I guess I was an irresponsible voter because I mailed in my ballot voting yes on issue 1 without really knowing much about it, except it's a good thing. Would you explain to me?
They'll still count the vote. We'll still count it.
Oh, yeah. What are the bonds supported by? General tax revenues? Are they general obligation bonds of the state? Now, I understand where the money goes, but does it ever come back? Is there any payback from any of the recipients, or is it just an investment without any return to the state?
So the short answer is yes, they are general obligation bonds. Supported by the General Revenue Fund of the state. But what's exciting is that we know for a fact that the investments in these new companies have generated more than enough revenue to repay the bonds. This is the kind of thing I'm sure you hear a lot. So let me just tell you that this didn't come from the state, the state's own analysis. The Third Frontier Commission has on it both representatives of business and of the universities, and two of our great business leaders, one from the Eaton Corporation and one from formerly with Procter & Gamble, said we want to make sure that this data is accurate. They did their own analysis of the return on investment to the state. It is posted on the Business Roundtable website, the Ohio Business Roundtable website, so any of you can review it, and any listener can review it and analyze it. And it demonstrates that the new jobs that have been created and the products and services that are being sold are generating the tax revenue that will have repaid the entire first bond issue by 2014. And then, of course, it doesn't stop generating revenue. So after that, every dollar generated by these new companies and programs is adding resources to the state to invest in other things like the K-12 education and the community development projects that Fairfax is so interested in. So it is a general obligation of the bond of the state, but we're clearly generating the revenue to repay it.
The very idea of a government program that puts money into private business would seem to be anathema to the Tea Party and similar thinking movements. Have you heard anything from them? Does it have any impact that you can discern on the campaign to approve the renewal of the Issue 1?
Well, I'll start, and then my colleagues can join me. First of all, let's be clear. This is strongly supported, strongly bipartisan, but that doesn't mean it's unanimous. The vote in the Senate was 30-2. The vote in the House was 85-13. That's about what the vote was back in 2002 when it was first initiated. So of course, there will always be some in our political dialogue, legitimately, who don't believe that the government should be making these types of investments. But it's really the overwhelming bipartisan support that has come forward that I think that demonstrates that even those who are occasionally who tend to be skeptical of government involvement in these types of initiatives have been persuaded that the third frontier is an exception, and we've really seen that throughout the debate. Is that folks say, well, I'm not usually for these types of things, but this one does work. And if I just say one last thing and then turn it over, the peer review process on these projects is really first rate. These are national experts who ask the question whether this project has commercial and scientific merit that would allow it to be at any point in the country, any place in the world. The reason why we're involved, and so I believe these are projects that would go forward. They will find investors even without the state involvement. The question is, where will they find that investor? And so the reason for the state's involvement is that we want the great products of our universities and our research centers to draw investment here in Ohio, to create the jobs here in Ohio, instead of having investors drawing that great intellectual capital and commercial opportunity to the other parts of the country and the world.
Maybe just to punctuate Eric's comments, I think the reason that you're not seeing the opposition from those who would traditionally believe that government should not have a role in these types of businesses or projects is because of the independent review and the independent award process that's been put in place. So it's not the government officials, it's not legislators making decisions on who gets these awards. It's this independent panel that's scoring proposals. And the second part of that is no proposal is awarded that doesn't have monies coming in from non-state sources. So you must demonstrate, at least on the entrepreneurial side, you must demonstrate that you have private dollars that are being invested from private investors. And from the institutional side, you have to also demonstrate that the institutions, as well as perhaps other sources such as foundations or the federal government, will be investing at the same time. It's that type of judgment and the filters that are used that I think have reduced the vocal opposition from those that would traditionally be against this type of program.
And I just point out, since especially the gentleman who's already voted knows, because he read it so carefully at the when he got his absentee ballot, that the requirement of the peer review, of this external review, is actually in the ballot language. It is part of the Constitution of the state of Ohio. So this isn't something that that we can just change after the Voters Act.